Okay, so I will start by sharing my screen in time-honored fashion. Okay, so good afternoon and welcome to the IATI Publishing Tool webinar. My name is David Eade and I'm a business and data analyst on the IATI technical team. Today we're going to look at some of the functionality of a new IATI publishing tool that was launched earlier on this month. Just to give you some overview of the content of today's session, there's a little bit of an introduction, which I guess is what this is at the moment. I'm then going to give you some background information about the tool. Then for the demo itself, we're going to look at the landing page, registration, help and banners, the setting of default values for publishing, population of the organization data file, adding activities to the data file, and then we will look at importing files, user maintenance, and finally we'll end with a question and answer session. Okay. Right. So for background, over the last few years, there's been an increase in the amount of small and medium-sized publishers. Although there have been some third-party tools available, up until now, IATI has not had its own tool, and the lack of this has been seen as a missing piece of the jigsaw. IATI have wanted to provide a publishing tool set on the unified platform. The publisher tool now joins other tools such as IATI Registry, Data Store, Validator, and the APIs on this platform. In this way, the publisher tool will link in with IATI Registry and Validator to provide a smoother journey for publishers. The tool has been developed using a graphical user interface, which is intuitive and easy to use. We understand that the IATI standard and data entry can be daunting for some of those who are not familiar with the standard. So therefore, to supplement this, we've included a number of measures which will assist the user in completing the exercise of registering for IATI and publishing data. The version of the tool you'll see today is the minimum viable product. The plan for the next 6 months is to enhance the tool with translations into French and Spanish, bug fixes and enhanced features based on the feedback we receive, and enhancement of the user manual with translations and updates as required. In addition to new publishers, the tool will also be available to existing publishers. Those who currently publish via AidStream and are a suitable fit will be contacted by the IATI technical team with a view to migrating to the new tool. Other organizations who use other tools can also reach out to the IATI help desk to discuss migration options. Okay. So now onto the demonstration itself. I'll be showing you a mixture of the live production tool for some of the demo and also some of the test systems, because I don't want to actually publish live data into the live system. One thing I will point out is that the demo here is to show the functionality of the tool. If you have any specific questions about the data fields themselves or the IATI standard, then we can address these outside of the session. Okay, so hopefully you can see on my screen is the landing page for the IATI publisher tool. On the landing page, you'll see that this is initially split into two halves. On the right-hand side, we have the sign-in section for existing users, and on the left-hand side is the facility for organizations to sign up for the publishing tool. If we look at the Join Now options, which the user can click, you will see that the right-hand side of the screen now changes and offers two options. The option I am new to IATI will allow the user to create a brand new organization for publishers, which will link with the IATI registry. Organizations who select this option should be totally new to IATI and have not published any information before. Once they've gone through the various sign-up screens, there will be a brief delay whilst the registry account is verified by the IATI technical team. This is still a manual process and may require the publisher to submit additional documentation to verify their authenticity. Once that validation takes place, the user will be notified via email and will be able to come back to the publishing tool and sign on using the sign-on panel. For organizations that are already registered with IATI and have an organization reference on the IATI registry, they will select the second option, My Organization has registered with IATI, which will request the information that they have already supplied in the IATI registry so that the two records can be tied together. They will also create user credentials so that then they too can go to the sign-in page once those credentials have been verified. At this point, I'd like to show some of the help that's available in the tool. You'll notice here that to assist the user entering information, the screen also provides some help. Any field which has a red asterisk informs a user that this is a mandatory field and must be completed. Also, at the end of each field, there is a small question mark icon in the circle. If the user hovers over this with a mouse, then additional help text will be provided. In addition to the on-screen help, at the bottom of the screen, there is also a banner that links to the additional help that's available. There are a number of additional features at the bottom banner, and this is available throughout the site. Underneath IATI Publisher, we have the home link, which will take the user back to the sign-on screen. We have the About link, which provides additional information about the IATI Publisher tool. Sign in and join now links will take the user back to those particular pages. And there is also a link to the user manual, which will allow the user to download a PDF version of the manual, which will again help show the user how to complete the screens, what is required, and provide help and assistance to do this. This is a brief view of the user manual, showing some of the screens and some of the information available. Some of our initial publishers have found this resource invaluable, and have even commented that they've used dual screens to have the manual open on one and the tool on another in order to complete the exercise of publishing data. Underneath the IATI Standard tab, we have links to the IATI Standard itself. Here, there's additional information for the user, and also links to PDF versions of the IATI Standard itself and links to the website. There is also a link to a publishing checklist, which again will assist the user in recognizing what information they need to publish and how that needs to be set up. Lastly, on this page is a support link. This will give the user information on a link to the support at iatistandard.org, which is an email straight into the IATI help desk. There are also links on this page to the IATI Connect page, and also to the Data Publishing Community of Practice page. Also on this link, and again, available from anywhere on the website, is the support at iatistandard.org. Clicking on here will create an email straight into the IATI help. Okay, I'm going to switch tools now, switch from the live tool into the publishing tool, into the test tool. So after signing on, the user is presented with the Your Activities page. There are a number of other pages that are available, but the Your Activities page is the one that is immediately available once you log on. This is because we recognize that the Your Activities page is probably the most frequently visited one. At the top of the page, we have 5 options. We have the activity page, and this is indicated by a blue line underneath it to show the user where they are on the site. The next option is the organizational data page, followed by a page for settings, add and import activities, and finally the users page. We'll come back to these later on in the demo. For a new user or organization publishing, they will initially go to the settings page in order to set up the values for future publishing. Here they will be able to set their API token reference, which will be obtained from their IATI registry account. And on the default tab, they can provide settings of public values such as the default currency and the default language, which would be used on the site if they do not populate these values individually when they create activities. We'll be able to see more of this when we start creating data later on in this exercise. Default values can also be supplied for hierarchy humanitarian data, and where budget has not been provided for any of the activities. Once the new organisation has completed this, they will then move on to the organisation data set. Okay, so now we move on to the two main data entry screens in the tool. And the first one is the organisation file page, which we expect to be populated on a less infrequent basis. On the organisation page, you will notice a number of things. First of all, on the right-hand side, we have a visualization of progress, and underneath is a list of the elements that need to be populated in order for this submission to be made and make up the percentage of completeness within the visualization. In the case of the organisation, there are 9 elements that need to be populated. Elements with an interlocking gold circle indicate that these are core elements and must be populated. Those with 2 green ticks alongside them indicate that the data has already been populated. It's worth noting here that core elements are a new concept of this tool, and core elements are those which are mandatory or recommended to be populated. Towards the middle of the screen, we can see the detail of each of the elements which has been created so far. Again, on the far left-hand side, we can see the question mark, which gives information about this element on the IATI standard. In this case, in the case of this screen, we can see that one of the elements, reporting organisation, has indicated that although some of the information has been populated, one of the sub-elements has not been completed and is therefore showing as not complete. If we click into this element, we are immediately given the data entry screen. Mandatory fields again are highlighted with an asterisk, and we have the question mark that gives us data about the IATI standard. But also what we have here is an additional piece of information here, which is a help. But if we look at the help text, which then appears on the far side, this gives the user additional help in helping them understand what needs to be populated what in the particular field. In this case, what we're going to do is, because it's the type which has been missing, I'm now going to select the type. We will save and exit. And then when we return to the page, we can see that the 2 ticks has gone against the reporting organisation. Our progress is now 100%. And so we are now in a position to publish this data. Okay, so now the data has been published to the registry. We can see that from this option, there's an option to unpublish if the user so wishes. Okay, now we move on to the activity data page. This is a default view, as we said before, and this is what is usually displayed when the user logs in. This page will display a list of all the activities that have been created so far. Towards the top of the screen, there is an option to add an activity, to create a new one, and can either be manually added or import activity from the CSV or XML file. If we select to create the value manually, there are a number of fields that need to be populated. And you'll notice here that the IATI identifier is created automatically from the information that's within the IATI registry for the organisation file and the information that we've put in here. You'll notice once we've created that basic information, we then go into the activity data entry screen. You'll notice that the activity data entry screen is very similar to that of the organizational data entry screen. On the left-hand side, we have the visualization progress, and we have a list of all the elements that are required or are available for data entry. As you can see, there's considerably more available for the activities than there are for the organization. As the user continues to add data into the core elements, then the progress will continue to rise until the time where it's 100% complete. Once that's done, the user has the option of publishing directly on this page, or they can go back to the list. Another thing you will notice from this screen is that we have got the option to override this activity's default values. If you remember, we said that we populated default values at the organizational level, but here we have the opportunity to override these values for this particular activity. We recognize that some organizations may want to have different default values set for different activities within their publishing set. I'm now going to have a look at one of the activities here, which is nearly ready to be published. So here, once again, we're 93.75%. We need the activity status to be amended. So if I go into this option here, I'll add that piece of data and save and exit. We're now 100% complete. What we can do now is we can now select the Publish button, publish the data. At this point, the validator, the tool will call the IATI validator to check to see if all the information is correct. One warning here, the user can either fix the issues or they can publish anyway. And the activity has been published. You'll also get a message bar here to say that the activity has been published. You've also got a view to see what the particular warning was that that's the IATI validator returned. If we go back to the Your Activities list now, you'll notice that that one particular activity is now no longer saying that it's in draft. It is showing that it's published. And the option on here is rather than publish now, you have got the option to unpublish. From this screen, you can also select activities to delete them. So select one activity, you've got the option to delete. And also there's an option to download the files, download the information in either CMC or XML format. Moving on to the add and import activities. This is where, in addition to manually entering information, we know that some of our organizations would prefer to upload either CSV or XML files. Therefore, when the user clicks on this, they can navigate to choose a file. And then they can choose to upload it. The tool itself will provide some validation of that particular file before it actually gets uploaded. This one's actually got an error, but what will happen on the normal circumstances is that the activities within that file will be added to the list and the user can publish them from that page as normal. The last option we have on this screen is the user menu. If a person is logged in and has administration rights for their organization, then they will be able to add and remove users from this view using the screen. Okay. That actually completes the demonstration. Is there any questions that anybody would like to ask? Hi, Henriette.
Hi, David. I have a question on the CSV file from which you can upload. Can you show what format that file must have in order for the upload to go smoothly?
Right, okay, so there is a file. So, can you see my screen?
No.
No, no. Mhm.
Not yet.
Yes.
Right, okay. So one of the things I forgot to mention is that there is actually the opportunity to download the CSV activity template. So what you can do is from here, you download the CSV template, populate it, and obviously when you upload it, then it'll go straight through.
Thank you, clear.
Who else was asking a question? Bjorn? Bjorn, I've got a comment here. You've got a more general question about updating existing activities. So the answer to that, I think if you've got existing activities, then what we would be looking at is a migration from your existing tool or existing publishing tool to the IATI publishing tool. So if you're published currently via AidStream, then we will be looking at that and what that migration looks like. Once we understand what that migration will look like, then that will give us the opportunity to understand whether you can edit activities that have already been published, or whether we would have to delete and then sort of re-import them as a separate XML or CSV file. So that's part of the migration process that we're still looking at the moment. So you can see there's a question from Karina. The organisation's already registered and publishing through AidStream. Do we need to switch to IATI Publisher, or can we keep publishing through tools such as AidStream? What would happen if we switch from using AidStream to IATI Publisher? So the first part of the question is you don't have to move to the IATI Publisher. Obviously, we feel that there are a lot of benefits with the IATI Publisher being linked with the validator, etc. So it makes it more seamless. And obviously, one of the main reasons for the IATI tool was we wanted to be in control of the publishing tool. Obviously, AidStream is published by running their own company, so we don't know what will happen to that tool in the future. What would happen if we switch from AidStream to IATI Publisher? Yes, you would need to migrate ongoing projects. And again, as I sort of said, at the moment, we're looking at what that migration process will look like. Hopefully, we'll have a bit more information about that in the future, or quite shortly.
And just to add to that on migration, this is Kate, we are going to be reaching out to people who are within AidStream to offer the chance of an assisted migration. So we would move all of your activities over for you so that you don't need to do that. It will be a scripted process because AidStream isn't funded, Young Innovations will be looking to either charge people who are getting over the threshold of free activities that they're allowed in the tool, and they may end up changing that threshold over time so that they're not paying for a huge amount of data to sit in their tool, which is an unfunded tool. So that's why we'll be offering like an assisted migration process. So we'll be emailing out to organisations and then offering to move users across, so that you can have all of your activities in the new tool instead.
Okay, thanks, Kate. Got another question from Cisco, I think it is. Hi, thanks. How do you set up hierarchies with this tool, e.g. when an organisation is implementing itself, but also sub-granting, possibly with different geocodes? To be honest, I don't know the answer to that. I think the publishing tool is using the IATI standards. So however that would be implemented currently using IATI standard, then that's how you could implement it using this tool. I would suggest if you want to take a look at that one separately outside of this and see if I can come back to you with an answer to that. Okay, Marco, can we see an example of how a participating organisation is added? Thanks. Okay, so I go to the activity data. If I go to the activity here, it should be run for an organisation. Yeah. There you go. So there's all the data fields relating to participating organisation. Okay, Marco?
Yes, thank you. I think you went very quickly on the identifier, which is one of the fields that I struggle occasionally with A stream. So I wonder.
Right. Oh, sorry.
Yep. I think when there is a reference which comes with the, you had a preset there, but I wonder whether this publication tool is very strict on the ID.
So I think what will happen, if I remember correctly, is that you can put the reference, which is the IATI standard reference. What will happen, I think, is that when this passes through the IATI validator, that's where you'll get the error message or the warning message that tells you the value that you put in here does not match what it should be. Does that make sense?
Sort of, but I'll read the manual and see how I can get through. Thank you.
Yeah, as I say, I mean, there is the IATI standard here says that it's in a particular format, this value. So I think what will happen, as I said, when it goes through IATI validator, it will validate the information in that field against the standard. And then if it finds that what you've put in there is not a valid reference, then it will give you the warning message. I'm not sure whether it's a warning or an error, because in some cases, you'll get a warning to tell you that it's wrong, but you're still allowed to publish. Whereas if it's a critical error, it'll tell you that it is a critical error, and it'll stop you publishing, or it won't be available on the data store, one of those. So Cisco said, thanks for facilitating. Will the recording be posted on your website? Yes, and it's on YouTube. Oh, I'll be famous. Right, okay. That's good. Thank you, Rahimi, for that. Any other questions, anybody? Okay. As I said, I'll close this down now. We have got the support@iatistandard.org email address, which will come through to the IATI technical team help desk, which I sit on. So if you do have any questions after this, please feel free to send an email to that, and I will also answer those questions. Sorry, Henrietta's just sort of asked a last question. Are you foreseeing further improvements over the coming months? So yes, I mean, first of all, one of the things we've got in the pipeline at the moment is we're translating the site into French and Spanish, which hopefully will assist some organisations as well. And we have, obviously, as I said at the start, this is the minimum viable product. So we are looking at some additional enhancements to features, etc. as we move through. We're taking comments all the time and sort of speaking to the publishers who have already signed up. We've got about 10 or 11 publishers who've already signed up for the tool. I think we've published something in the region about 30 to 40 activities. So I'm in contact with these organisations, and we're taking feedback from those, and from those then we will sort of build in changes and features to fine-tune the tool to make it more and more better for everybody. Okay, if that's all then, folks, I'll end the meeting. As I said, if there's any other questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.